So in this section right here, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap things up by showing you how we work with our data. I mean, up to this point now, we've looked at how we can install MySQL. We've talked about what a database is and how to actually create and delete databases. We've talked about what tables are and how we put tables and create them inside of databases. And we talked about what fields are and how we create the tables with our fields. And now it's time to actually put some information inside of our tables. Right, Adam?
Yes.
Good, Mr. Adam. So here we are. I'm back inside MySQL. You can see that I have said use BuzzDB, show tables. There's guests. And real quick, let's just do a quick DSERIB.
DSERIB.
Yeah, sometimes, talking and spelling don't work at the same time to me unless I'm talking the spelling of whatever it is I'm trying to type out. So how do we actually put information into our database? Because right now our table. Right now our table is actually empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a command called insert into. Now I need to specify a table. What table am I going to be inserting this data into? So what is that going to be, Adam?
Int.
Buzz test.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Buzz test.
Go ahead, Logan.
Oh, wait, no, that was the one you deleted, isn't it?
Please, we're just sleeping.
What'd you name it?
We're inserting information into a table called guests.
For some reason, I was stuck that you were still doing buzz test table.
You guys are over there. You guys are over there laughing about something. I don't know what it is. I just thought I'd bring you back into the conversation. Showing me your legs won't work.
Sorry.
So here everybody is. Now everybody's definitely.
Everybody was like, think it was like Kristen doing it. No, it was me.
Everybody now. Yeah, it was Adam.
Sorry.
It's like, what happened to her voice? So we're inserting into guests. So we need to say insert into guests. And now we need to tell it values. What values are we going to be inserting? And these values need to be in the same order that you have your field. So the first one's going to be auto ID. Now auto ID is a primary key that is auto-incremented. Okay, so it's a number that's just going to increment itself every time through. So we don't want to specify anything here. We're just going to tell it, I want to put in a null. Okay, so the next thing is going to be first name. So let's pick on Adam. Now, this is a varchar. So I can use some quotes here. I can use single quotes. You want to take a second, Logan, and tell them about that?
That's just because you're entering a char or a string, a
string type
similar to a string.
Okay.
So you have to put quotes around it to specify that it is a string.
Right. Because I mean, if we hit a comma, then it's going to be like, whoa, that's the next piece of information. We don't want that.
Right.
Happening.
Yeah. You could put inside the quotes. You could put a comma, and it'll then put that in as a char in your database. If you just had a comma laying out, it thinks, okay, now time to go to the next value.
Okay. So
whatever's inside the quotes gets put inside like the name. So if I said quote Adam, comma, question mark 5, end quote, my name would be Adam, comma, question mark 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Now, do I have to use double quotes like I'm using there?
No, you could use single quotes.
And go ahead and tell our viewers out there why you like to use single quotes.
Okay, because once we get into actually running these type of, like adding data through a PHP script, when you're adding this using PHP, you might, you're going to set up a string in the first place for this entire line that you're adding. And you're going to put that inside quotes because that's a string type. And you might want to use the single quotes because you could put those inside a string. Like in this string here, you started this with double quotes, right? Inside there, you could put one or many single quotes, and it would ignore those. It would just put them in as part of the name.
Gotcha.
So it can be handy to interchange those out. Like if you have this entire line in a string with single quotes, you could use the double quotes in here, or vice versa.
Very cool. I just thought it'd be nice to have you share that with them. So this right now, Noel is for auto ID. Adam is going into first name.
M.
Spell your last name for me.
MCG.
MCG.
UI. RE.
RREY, because we don't really want to let anybody know who you actually are, right, Mister? Here's my full name, telephone number, and I just set you up. That's all it is.
Okay.
I had to get you at least once tonight.
Adam McGuire.
So Adam McGuire is now in there. Okay. And, oh, dear, I accidentally hit enter. Have I heard anything, Logan?
Dear.
Not yet, because this is where the terminator becomes really important.
That's right.
What if you have, if you're working, say, with a table that's even bigger than this, and you have a whole long line of values you have to enter, and it's starting to get confusing because it wraps multiple times? If you haven't yet used a terminator and hit enter, it'll just let you continue typing on the next line. This will allow you to better organize what you're trying to put in the database.
Absolutely.
And
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And it won't actually, because like before we were hitting enter and it was like running these queries and doing what we were typing. In this case, it won't do this insert until it hits a terminator. So we can go and type as many lines as we want and then put a terminator when we're done.
So I could simply come in here now and say, comma, Adam, you're what? You're 46?
Yeah.
46, right?
Right.
And if I wanted to, I could hit enter again, and I could say, comma, quotes, loves 3D buzz. Well, you do, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, otherwise I was just going to have to ask you to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be good.
A bad thing.
So basically now, keep in mind, this 46 right here is going into age. Loves 3D buzz is going into comments. And let's go ahead and come down here, and what do we want to put here, Logan?
We want to put the date. And
do we want to do anything special with it?
You do want to put it in quotes.
Okie dokie. So give it to me. How do we want to throw it in there?
Now, the date, the way this formats is a 4-digit year. So go ahead and type in the year.
So it's really 1970.
And a dash, a hyphen.
Okay.
And then the month.
And the month.
In numeric 2-digit format.
So it's March.
And one more hyphen. And the day.
And we have my birthday.
In 2-digit format.
Okay, in a 2-digit format.
You don't have to do... Okay, I was going to say.
Okay, so there we are with year, month, day. And now all we need is a terminator?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
no. We actually need a closing little guy up here, don't we?
Parenthesis.
All right, so let's take a look at what we've got going on right here. I guess we'll go ahead and finish it off real quick. So we'll finish that, and before hitting enter, we've got insert into, and then our table name, which is guests. Values, this is another word, this is another part of the command that you have to use. And then inside parentheses, we've got an open parentheses there and an ending parentheses at the very end. Then we simply have the data laid out the exact way that it's specified inside our actual table. So we've got null for auto ID, Adam for first name, McGuire for last name, 46 for age, loves 3D buzz for comments, and our date for date entered. And then we've got our closing parentheses and terminator. We'll go ahead and press enter, and we've got query OK. One row was affected. Now what we need to do is we need to actually see this data inside of our table. So here's how we do it. Get ready for this one.
We're show data in table.
Wrong.
We're going to use a command that is called select. The select command is one of the most popular commands used inside of MySQL, period. Here's how it works. We're just going to say select star from, and why am I suddenly doing it in all caps? I don't know. I just felt like doing it in all caps right there. Generally when I code, like insert into would be all caps and guests would be low. Values would be all caps. It doesn't matter, though. It's not case sensitive where that's going to mess everything up if you do or don't do it. Generally, when you're typing in, especially if any of you guys go out and look at any MySQL books available in your bookstore, you'll see that all of the MySQL commands are always capitalized. This is kind of a naming convention that's been around for a long time with MySQL. Okay, so we got select star from, and we're going to say guests. This is saying select everything or select all of our fields from guests. So go ahead and hit enter, and we have got one record inside that table. This is the one record. The auto ID number was set to 1. It's the first number that was available. First name was Adam. Last name was McGuire. And then we got age 46, loves 3D buzz, and we have our date entered. Pretty easy?
Yeah.
So let's enter a second one real quick. So I'm just going to, wow, see, that's the bad thing about hitting the old up arrow here.
You could keep doing that over and over again. Like you hit up arrow 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, but that get good and messy for us.
Yep.
Let's just do it like this. So insert, let's see, null. We'll do this one as, we'll just say that she is Critter. Her last name is Mop. And I don't know. Age, hang on, 8. Comments, I love me, and let's see, and the date that this was entered.
He's so harsh.
I'm not that harsh. Date that this was entered was 1971. It's been a long time since anybody's been there. Since, let's see.
It's because it's 3D Buzz.
Yeah, hey, be nice.
I'm just kidding.
That
I love 3D
Buzz. 03-05 at this time in real world. I was 1 year old. And we'll go ahead and close that off and input. So there we go. Now I'm just going to hit up a couple of times again. So we got select star from guests. And you can see now that we have 2 records that are being stored inside of our table. Okay, Adam McGuire and Kristen Mott. Or
That's
Critter
Mop.
I know, I was correcting my own self. Thank you very much.
That's Ms. Mop to you.
Yeah. So anyways, pulling out my weapon here. So anyways, the big thing I want you to point out is you see as we're going through here, entering more records, that auto ID number has gone from 1 to 2.
Does that automatically.
Does that automatically. Remember,
auto increment.
Hence, auto increment.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Whatever, Buzz.
That's what I said.
So, I know you did. She just didn't catch you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, real quick, even though I don't want to spend a lot of time getting into how complex we can make select statements, just in case any of you guys out there new to all of this end up making a table that's got a whole lot of records in there, it's real handy to be able to go in and say, query me out specific records. What if I wanted to say select, see, notice now I'm doing it all lowercase. Before actually getting to the query, let me do this. Instead of saying star, what do the asterisks mean again?
The asterisk means all field names.
So if I wanted to say, just give me all of my first names back, I could, instead of having the asterisk, I could simply say first name, okay, from guess. Huh? And now, if I hit enter, look what it's done. Instead of returning me back my entire record sets, I get back just first name, Adam Critter. I could even come in here and say select first name, comma, last name from guests. Now I get your first name and your last name only. Right. Go ahead, Logan. You're bouncy over there. You want to throw something in there? Do it.
Yes, this gets very, very useful in a real world situation where you're storing lots of data. Doing this method where you're only pulling the exact data you need makes your selects more efficient and
much faster.
Right.
Yeah, much efficient. Yes. You're right.
And it's good to make sure all your queries are as efficient as possible if you're running like a real web server and
because we don't want to tie our processing power up.
Yeah, and a bunch of data that you end up never using.
Exactly. Okay, so now we've looked at how we can actually pull out just specific fields. Now what I want to do is let's take just a quick look at how we can go in here and actually query out data now. In other words, instead of saying give me everything, I want you to give me out just records that match specific criteria. So I could say, let's go with, what if I wanted to pull out, well, let's just do this. Select everything, okay, so there's my asterisk, from guests where. Okay, so now we're going to introduce where into this whole select statement command. What where allows me to do is go in there and put in some, basically some criteria that must be matched by the query to produce the record set. Before you get information back, it's got to match this. In other words, where first name equals Adam. Okay? Anything you want to add to that, Logan?
Nope, that should work.
And we'll just go ahead and hit enter. And instead of getting Adam and Critter back, we just get Adam back now. And if we would have had 15 different Adams inside a table that had 60,000 records in it, we'd have got just the Adams back, the ones that had Adam in the actual first name. This gets really handy when we want to go in there and start modifying data, et cetera, modifying, deleting. So now that we've taken a real brief look at actually pulling information back out, I promise you guys in later VTMs, probably in the next one, we're going to spend a lot more time digging deeper into the actual select command, the where, and all the different things we could do because it can get kind of deep. But now let's go ahead and take a look at how we can update, since we now see how we could specify something. Perhaps I want to go in here and actually fix Adam's last name for real now, just to make him feel a little bit happier.
Thank you.
I butchered it. I know. But it's, see, I was setting you up for all this attention.
Yeah.
Huh? So?
Like maybe some artist page hits.
I hear you. So I can come in here and say, update. What is this, an infomercial real quick? So I can say update. Now I need to say the table name, which would be guests. I'm going to say set. Now, I want to set the last name is going to be equal to, instead of McGuire, it's MC, well, let's throw this guy in quotes, MC, capital G?
G, yes, capital G.
G-U-I-R-E. McGuire. Okay. Now, if I hit enter right now, with a terminator on the end, of course,
right.
What's going to happen there, Mr. Logan?
Well, it's going to set the last name field to McGuire, every record.
So basically, we will marry Critter and Adam right here on the spot by hitting enter, right?
Yeah.
On this very special
it would
VPM.
Be Critter. It would be Critter McGuire. That's kind of funny. Adam doesn't find that as funny as I do. I think it's funny.
So do you have to do where?
There you go. So now we can come back in here and we can say where. And now if we wanted to, we could say, there's several ways we could go about this. We could simply say auto ID equals 1 because we know what that is. We could use the same select that we saw, or the same where from the select we saw a minute ago, where I could say where first name equals Adam. Of course, that's a lot of typing. So I just wanted to point out that you can do multiple things. So in this case, I just want to say where auto ID is equal to 1. Okay?
So could you change everybody who is 46? Could you change their last name to McGuire?
Yep. Or I could say where age equals 46, and all of those would be changed.
Cool.
And we don't have our where doesn't have to be just one thing.
It's not just equal. You could actually specify a range. You could say people you're using greater than and less than, and combining them. This would get into this will probably be on a more advanced future issue. But you could say anyone who's between age 20 and 46 would have their last name set to McGuire.
Or what if we wanted to say anybody that was 46 who had the name Adam?
Right.
So,
yes, you can specify multiple
So we could
fields.
make our where part of the actual command a little bit more complex by expanding it into multiple.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Change the comments to over the hill.
Yeah.
For everyone 46.
We could very well do that. We could. So in this case, though, we're just going to say where auto ID equals 1. And we'll go ahead and come in here. And we've got rows that matched 1. Changed 1. So let's go ahead and come back in. And I'm just going to do a...
Does that say warnings?
Select star from... Yeah, warnings 0.
Oh.
Of course, they can't see me pointing with my hand, so warnings 0. So there you go. Adam McGuire.
Yay.
Okay. So again, that was using just a simple update guests or your table name set. And you can change multiple things at one time. It's your field name equals and the new data. I could have done comma, another field name and the data, comma, and it just kept on going if I needed to. Okay? Just thought I'd point that out real quick. So now that we've seen how to add, how to show, how to update, the last thing I want to do is show you how to delete. So we're just going to simply say delete from, and now again we need to tell it guests, okay, or whatever table it is you want to delete from. Now, again, Logan, if we could take just a second here and tell everyone what happened if I accidentally hit Terminator Enter.
Same thing that happened if you just said, if before we were talking about it, if you said update guest, set last name equals McGuire and ended there, every record, every last name would be set to McGuire. Now here, if you just said delete from guests, that means every record inside of guests would be deleted. Right there.
So you got to be careful.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I just want to go ahead and come back in here and say delete from guests where, okay, auto ID equals 2. What's this going to do?
It's going to kill me.
It's going to kill Critter.
Off I
okay.
go.
So query's okay. 1 row's affected. So again, I'm going to do a select star from guests. All we have is 1 record in there. That easy?
Pretty easy.
So
it's not too bad.
So that we've looked at the insert into command, we've looked at the select command, we've looked at the update command, we've looked at the delete command or delete from command. I think that's pretty good for what we wanted to cover. What do you think, Logan?
Right, you can work with data now.
I've learned so much.
Yeah, you can work with data. That's the the key thing here. Now, we're not expecting you to go out and design some incredible fancy system and say, look what we did. What we are expecting you to do is spend this time practicing, making some simple databases, looking through the documentation that you can find over at MySQL's website, and just become familiar with things. And at the next VTM, we're going to make things a little bit more sophisticated, where we're going to take the time to start marrying HTML documents with our databases, okay? And so, because, I mean, in the end, you're not going to send your users to a MySQL monitor like this to type this stuff in, right?
Right.
I mean, they need to be on a web page and put it in on a web page and go from there. So that'll be on the next one. So with that, that's everything. Thanks, guys.
Oh.